Hi, the following is a training video on how to do triggering with the SC series camera in FLIR Systems' revolutionary new ExaminIR Max software. Right now we're already connected to the camera through Gigabit Ethernet. To get started, we're going to set up the triggering conditions for the software. In this case, we're going to go under the Record menu and the Edit Recorded settings. For today's demonstration, I'm going to send a trigger to the camera, and for each trigger, I want the camera to clock out 100 frames. For the recording, I actually want to record 300 frames. So I'll sit there and wait until 3 triggers have occurred and 300 frames have been clocked out by the camera. To do that and record at high speed, I'm going to choose to record to memory and then choose on recording 300 frames. I'm going to choose my recording directory. In this case, I've already pre-created a folder called Triggering Demo. I'm going to select that and click OK. Then for the file naming, I'm going to call it Triggering Demo. I'm going to start my counting at 0 in increments of 1. Once I have everything set up, I'm going to click OK. Now let's go open the camera controller under the camera menu and click Control. This brings up the SC6000 camera controller menu. Triggering is an advanced feature, so I'm going to go under Tools, User Mode, and click Advanced. One of the features of the SC series camera is the ability to do preset sequencing. Normally the camera operates at a single preset. In this case, we want to send a trigger to the camera and have it clock out a single preset with 100 frames at that preset. So I click on Preset Sequencing, set my dwell count to 100 for the temperature range that I want or the given integration time, and set the other presets to 0, which I've done. The maximum frame rate for this particular temperature range is 115 frames per second. I'm going to try to record at 100 frames per second. So I'm going to type in 100 on the frame rate. Next, I want to go under my sync and choose for my trigger mode, instead of free run, to use the external input trigger. I'm going to have it run through the sequence one time. So now we've set up our camera that when it receives a trigger on the camera, it'll clock out 100 frames at this calibration range or integration time. You'll notice that we're no longer collecting frames in the software. That makes sense because I haven't sent the trigger yet, so the camera's not sending any frames, and of course Examiner's waiting to grab frames to view and record. We've already set up our recording, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Record a Movie. There, it's waiting for the frames to begin coming from the camera, and of course I haven't sent the trigger yet. Let me turn on my trigger box and click on Trigger. I've just sent an external trigger to the camera. It clocked out 100 frames, and of course Examiner has collected those 100 frames as displayed here. I'm going to send another trigger. The camera clocks out another 100 frames, and we see that Examiner has collected that 100 frames. Examiner is still waiting for that last 100 frames, so let's click the trigger. There, the final 100 frames. Now we've acquired the requested 300 frames, and Examiner is writing that data that was collected in memory to file. We click Close. And now we see the file's been created down in our File menu. Let's double click on that and open up the file. There. Looking at the clock, we see about a second under the first 100 frames. We see a nice jump, and then another 100 frames. And another jump in the second hand, and then another 100 frames. Which makes sense because I had a delay between my triggers. Looks like all the data was collected. Perfect. It's that easy to do high-speed triggering with the SC series camera and ExaminIR Max. Thank you.